When we look at the next risk factor, rumination. Rumination means spinning around the same thoughts over and over and over again and analyzing and analyzing and analyzing at the expense of taking action. Rumination drives the symptoms of anxiety. Rumination drives the symptoms of depression. For the people who are ruminators, they have much more difficulty with even the most basic things like sleeping because their brain doesn't stop. They're always thinking about their problems, always thinking about the issues, trying to figure out what to do next. And the idea, of course, is thinking about problems is generally useful depending how you think about them. If you keep analyzing but never take action, you're going to feel worse. If there is a cure for rumination, it's action. But it has to be timely action. It has to be effective action. It's not just action for the sake of action. That doesn't count as action. So the ability to be able to convert rumination to action. And when we look at the things that people ruminate about, it's almost invariably about relationships. And probably number 2 is school and work-related issues. But relationships are the most prominent. And many of the relationships, of course, are relationships from the past. This is one of the factors of depression. Every problem has a structure. Every problem, every diagnostic label has components. One of the components of depression is what's called a past orientation. People come in and they say, my past controls me. It's because of these traumas in my past. It's because of these things my parents did. It's because of these things that happened to me when I was a kid. And they don't just ruminate about the past, although they do that. But when I say they're also using the past as a reference point, I'm saying they use the past to predict the future. So they say things like, I'll never be happy, prediction for the future. Why not? Because I never have been. I'll never get a good job. Why not? Because I've never had one. I'll never have a good relationship. Why not? Because I've never had one. And of course, the most popular one of all, I won't be happy until my parents treat me better when I was a kid. And for as long as somebody gets caught up in that loop, they're not going anywhere. Why it becomes so incredibly important to convert to action. And I'm constantly having to remind people, whatever your history is, you're more than your history. You're more than your history. You're more than any one characteristic. You're more than your job. You're more than your title. You're more than your income. You're more than your body size. You're more than how many likes you get on Facebook or Instagram or any of these other social media things. All of that stuff doesn't ultimately matter and can't be the basis for defining self. And when people define themselves, the thing that's troublesome about having to tell people you're more than your history is that when people learn, a therapist says to them, you are a trauma survivor. You are an abuse survivor. On one level, that sounds very empowering. On another level, you're literally adopting the label that says that you can globally define yourself by your unchangeable history. The last thing you want to do is define yourself by your unchangeable history. Why that orientation to the future, what the possibilities are. If I could get every person to absorb that simple phrase, create possibilities. There aren't any guarantees in life. But we can take actions that create possibilities for the future. There is a danger with rumination of thinking too much. The unexamined life isn't worth living, said Socrates. There is a danger in thinking too much. And there's a specific discrimination that has to be made. When is it useful analysis? And when is it useless rumination? And I'll answer the question for you. If it doesn't lead to timely and effective action, it's useless rumination. The next risk factor